So you've cleaned up your house, you've painted, you've got all your junk out, you've tidied everything up just perfectly. You want to sell, and now your next step is to call me, fill out the paperwork, and get your property on the market. Well, if that's your strategy, I'm going to suggest that you've likely done it wrong, and well, you've probably wasted a bunch of time as well. Step one to selling your home is speaking to your agent first. And I'm actually going to go through the step-by-step process and the timeline you should expect in order to get your property onto the market and sold right after I ask you to please subscribe to the channel for Canadian housing market updates. And remember to please hit that like button. My job here is to educate you. Your job is to hit the like button and help YouTube get this information out to other people also looking for this type of information. And as always, if you have any questions about this process that I can help out with, or if you want to be connected with a real estate professional in your area that I know, like, and trust, please make sure to comment down below so I can help you out. Okay, so the timeline and process for selling your property. Step one, speak to your agent. If you have someone you've used in the past, again, you know, like, and trust them, or if you're interviewing agents, please do it early. So many people think that the process is to get your house first ready and then call in your agent. Well, in this market, it's not the 1980s anymore, guys. You want to get your agent involved because your agent is likely going to put together the plan in order to show you how you can actually maximize your time and your dollars out the other side. The real problem is that so many homeowners fix up their property to their standards, and sometimes their standards are lower and sometimes their standards are higher, but their standards or choices in decorating and all that sort of thing might not be what the buyer is looking for. So when you're working with a professional, they can actually guide you in the right direction and tell you where to put in work and the steps you could probably skip. Let me give you an example of this. It's almost every single house I go into. Everyone spends time decluttering, getting rid of their stuff in the garage. This might be the biggest waste of time ever. I actually want you to put stuff in the garage because you know all those boxes and all that stuff you have sitting in your garage for forever and ever and ever, and they've been there since before you moved in probably. Well, it's okay. I mean, it's got to be organized, it's got to be clean, but your buyer doesn't care that much about the garage because they're just going to stack their stuff in it too. So everybody spends maybe a week or 2 weeks cleaning out their garage and doing nothing about the bedrooms or kitchen or bathrooms or painting that needs done. I'm going to suggest that the garage is one of those areas that you can kind of skip over and focus on the higher selling areas, particularly things like kitchens and bathrooms. So yes, technically you could call me in, we could sign paperwork today, and your property could probably hit the MLS system by tomorrow. But your agent usually isn't so worried about how fast you can get the property on the market. They're likely more worried about how to make your property sell for more. Getting your property to sell for more, it has to look at its best, and all the marketing has to be in place. So you can't just skip these steps. You can't just put your property on the market first day and expect the best results. So again, step one, talk to your agent. They're going to give you their opinions on what step two should be. Step two realistically should be to put a plan together with that agent. You could get your property on the market in as little as 7 days effectively with most of the marketing in place. But realistically, when I meet with clients and they're looking at selling their most valuable asset, yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon for me to meet 1, 2, 3, 4 months or even a year or more in advance. That's right. We meet with people all the time that are thinking about selling 9 months from now, and that's okay. So if you want to do that, if you're thinking about moving, specifically, maybe you're moving out of town and you want to start looking at other areas, call in someone like myself earlier so you can put a plan together and you can know what to expect. It won't make it so hard when the time actually comes. You won't feel so rushed. So we meet, we put a plan together, but let's say you're not thinking about moving in 9 months or a year. Let's say you probably want to get this place on the market within 30 days. Well, first step in the plan, you're likely going to need the property stage. So here in BC, where commissions are lower, most professional realtors will include a professional staging consultation, and that person should come in as early as possible after you have signed the paperwork. In other areas like Ontario, where commissions are much higher, staging might actually involve removing your furniture and bringing in all brand new furniture. But here in BC, generally what you'll see is a consultation. That stager will come in, they'll work with you and your furniture to declutter and position things just right to maximize the appeal to the masses. I think back to my first place I ever sold, And I was new to the business. I didn't understand staging or anything like that. And actually we staged the property after it was already on the market for a while. And it turns out the objections were that the living room and second bedroom weren't big enough. So what the stager said to do was actually remove a couch and then change around one of the bedrooms a little bit, put in a little bit smaller bed and a little bit smaller desk. And guess what? The next person that showed that property or that viewed that property, the next buyer that came through the door actually bought that property. Let me give you another really quick example about staging. Just something that, the pros know this. So developers, here's what they do. If you ever walk into a sales center, townhouse complex, or condo, something like that, you'll notice that there's almost never a door hung anywhere within the property. Now, I'm not going to recommend that you remove all the doors from your property when you're selling your home. However, the developers know that how we live every day and how we stage a property for sale are two completely different things. So there are things that the professionals do to make it look more appealing to the eyeball rather than the actual livability of the home. Next, and specifically as a result of 2020 and 2021, we're going to want floor plans. You're not going to want anybody in your home that hasn't already looked at the floor plan and doesn't know exactly what to expect. Now, the floor plan guy, super easy to deal with. They're not coming in taking pictures, so you don't even really have to be clean for this step. So they can come in pretty early in the process. All they do is they come in, they make a bunch of measurements, whip out an iPad, a bunch of fancy technology, and next thing you know, you've got a beautiful laid out floor plan, including closets, storage rooms, ceiling height, absolutely anything a buyer would want to know before they walked in. But after that, it's time to clean up like your mother-in-law is coming over for dinner, because the next step is photos. We're going to want your property cleaned up perfectly for photos. Nothing can be out of place, because this is the number one thing that buyers look for online before actually taking their search and looking at your property offline. So let's revisit this real quick. If you want to be on the market in 30 days, we sign the paperwork tomorrow. Well, realistically, we don't need that much time. Most people, between signing paperwork and being on the market, you're going to need 7 to 14 days. So let's say 10 days is the sweet spot. So let's say you have me over Friday, we sign the paperwork. Well, you're going to get decluttering all day Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully Monday is your appointment with the stager. So they're going to give you a list of things to do in order to get your property ready for sale. Now, the more things that you can check off of this list, well, that's realistically going to result in a higher selling price and also in a faster time. Don't worry, you won't get to it all. But if you can, you're an absolute rock star. So now maybe another day or two. So we're Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week. That's when the floor plan guy is going to come through. Again, that's pretty easy to do. He just comes in and stays out of everybody's way. Now, closer to the end of the week, we're going to have a spot where we're having Steve or his team come back and gather information and basically fill out all the data input forms or any leftover paperwork that wasn't the original listing contract. So let's say Steve did that on Friday. Well, now again, you've got Saturday and Sunday to get this place absolutely perfect. We like to hit the market on Tuesday or Wednesday, so photos are for sure going to be Monday. So Saturday, Sunday, you clean up like crazy. You put on the finishing touches to your home. Monday, you leave it perfect. Like I said, like your mother-in-law's coming for dinner that night, and then you go out the door. So while you're at work that day, photos are taken, all the marketing and everything comes into place, all the final steps kind of come into place, and you're ready to hit the market that Tuesday or Wednesday. Now, why do you want to hit the market on a Tuesday or Wednesday? Well, realistically, Mondays are often offer dates in a busier market, so we don't necessarily want to hit that day. Tuesday or Wednesday gives us the opportunity to get all of the marketing in place before the weekend, because your weekend is going to be your first weekend specifically is going to be the busiest time that you have with your listing. So if all that marketing stuff is done and photos are done on Monday, you hit the market on Tuesday. Sometimes the real estate board, the offices can take some time to process. So let's say it's really, really busy in the market. It's a busy spring market and you list for Tuesday. Sometimes your listing won't actually hit until Wednesday. However, if you do your listing active live on Thursday, your marketing material, sure, you'll hit the market on time, but your marketing material may not actually come in time. You may not get your flyers and all that stuff from the photographs that happened the day before you listed. So you want to make sure that the information has time to also distribute across the internets before the weekend. And that's kind of tricky how that happens. Usually these days it's a bunch faster. but it still can actually trickle out. What happens is the main realtor site get populated first, and then all of the information from that gets scraped and distributed over about a 24 to 48 hour period. And if you want to hit the market on a Friday, the problem with that is if you see any of those delays at the board, well, realistically, you might miss your whole first weekend being on the market because the property may not actually hit. If everybody goes home for the weekend and they don't get the stuff processed at the real estate board, the property might not hit until Monday, and now you've got yourself a real problem. So now that you've hit the market on Tuesday or maybe Wednesday, you should expect showings Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now you're going to have to rely on your professional that you hire to find out about things like open houses. But this is where you're going to now, are you clustering showings? This is all part of the strategy that you put together with your agent, depending on the market conditions. So there could be clustered showings, there could be showings as they come, there could be first showings at the open house and then showings thereafter. There's all sorts of different strategies for showing. Now, if your market is balanced or in a buyer's market, you're going to want to look at offers as soon as possible. But if you're in a seller's market, there will likely be an offer date set. So again, you're hitting the market Tuesday or Wednesday, showing all the rest of that week and through the weekend. And in a hot market, you will actually set an offer presentation time of, say, Monday, Tuesday, or possibly even Wednesday if it's a really, really hot property. What that does is that gives the buyers all the time to get through your property. But in a buyer's market or even in a balanced market, the serious buyers come day one, and then you might not get any more buyers. So in a buyer's market or a balanced market, if an offer comes day one, if it is Wednesday and the showing is Wednesday night and the offer comes Wednesday night, you look at the offer Wednesday night. And that's something that you as a seller may not realize. When an offer comes in, you're looking at it and dealing with it now. You are not going to be in a scenario where you get an offer and think about it for 24 hours. So when you set that offer presentation date or when you go live, you have to know that you will be negotiating as soon as maybe 24 hours after your listing hits the market. And if you tell that buyer you're going to think about it overnight, well, that buyer might get ticked off and go buy something else. And you might think, well, go ahead, let them. Well, again, you're going to have to consult with your agent on this to find out what the best scenario is. Because if you're in a buyer's market, you can't tick off any buyers. If you're in a seller's market, maybe you got a little bit more clout in your corner. However, again, you're going to have to rely on your agent's expertise in this situation. But let's say within the first, 7 days, you get an offer. Well, then what happens? Well, if you're in a very, very hot market, you might see an unconditional offer with a deposit in hand, meaning your house is sold right now. However, it's more traditional that you're going to get a condition removal period of 5 to 7 days. And in a buyer's market, conditions might be as long as 14 days. So you might actually hit the market this Tuesday, get an offer, and then you might still have to wait 2 weeks to find out whether or not your home is sold. So at this point, the conditions are going to come through. There'll be a financing condition. They're going to get their mortgage finalized and the inspection. And it's at this point that every single seller I've ever had says, I thought they were pre-approved. That's not really the way it works. A pre-approval is you go to the bank tells you roughly what you can afford. Then once you get a contract, you go back to the bank. They not only then finalize the approval of the person borrowing, but they also have to finalize the purchase price on the contract and get an appraisal. And this takes some time. So it's not uncommon for their financing condition alone to be 5 business days. So let's say then they get approved and that's all fine. Inspection goes well. There's no major problems. So they don't want to renegotiate because of problems found in inspection. The subject removal date will be negotiated in the contract. So I can't give you an exact date of when your property will sell because it's going to be specifically written in your contract. But here in BC, usually it's 11:59 p.m. the night of the subject removal to find out if your property is sold or not. Hopefully, good agents are going to give you that notification earlier than that. But I've had them come in at 11:58 at night and it's been an absolute disaster. But those properties eventually did get sold. And again, in my marketplace of Surrey, BC, it is common that the deposit will now come 24 hours after that. So just because you have subject removal in doesn't mean that your property is 100% sold. You still have to get the deposit. Once the deposit and subject removal are both in, that's when the sold sticker can finally go on the property. And congratulations, you've sold your home. But wait, you're not moving out yet. Again, refer back to your contract. What is the closing that you have negotiated? It's going to be in there. And let me frame it to you this way. 30 days from the day your deal goes firm, that's when the sold sticker goes on, until you move out, on the completion day, 30 days is a short close, 60 to 90 days is a regular normal close, and 120 days is a very long close. You don't want to go more than 120 days because your buyer may actually need to be reapproved. Most banks will only hold that pre-approval rate for up to 120 days. So that's why 60 to 90 is the most common. I mean, if you do a 160-day close, that's nice for you because you got a lot of time to shop. However, what if rates go up or the market changes or the buyer can't get their mortgage anymore? You may have just compromised your sale. So let's say your completion happens 90 days down the road. Well, you're going to want to make sure that your completion date, which again is written inside the contract, is, again, I like to shoot for midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And there's a reason for that. If you complete on a Friday and something goes wrong, you could be homeless for the weekend, or you could be in breach of contract of your next purchase. So we're going to want you to close on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Thursday. And then, so let's run through this real quick. You get your money for selling your home on, let's call it Tuesday. Then you give the money for purchasing your next home on Wednesday. Well, the person that you bought from has to go buy their home maybe on Thursday. So now you can see why the dominoes have to line up. And then you might not actually get keys until maybe Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. If you do completion possession one day after the other and the properties are not vacant, you will likely run into headaches. And a real quick side note here, if you're purchasing another property and selling a property, when you complete on the second property, your insurance should be valid for the completion day because that's the day you own the property. And the property that you're selling, you should keep your insurance valid until through the possession date because you're still going to have access to that property at that time. So you want to make sure you have double coverage on both properties. And there you have it. When I put all of this together, on the low end, you're 45 days from calling me to being out the door. But realistically, we're probably 90 to 120 days to do the whole process. And it's not uncommon for me to meet someone in September and they don't even list their property until the following April. So don't be afraid to get involved with your agent early. They would actually probably appreciate it because hopefully your agent's going to be in the business in 6 months from now. But also they want the chance to help you maximize the dollars out of your property, and they can give you recommendations and a plan that will make that happen. So if you are considering a move, maybe put that 90 to 120 days, plug it into your calendar and see where that puts you, because I do find that a lot of people think they have more time than they do. If you need to be in a certain city at a certain time because you're transferring or you want to get to a certain school district at the same certain time for your kids to go to school, you better look at those dates and find out if you're on the right track, because the last thing you want to do is panic sell, because panic selling means you may sell for less money, and nobody here wants that. Well, maybe the buyer wants that. So there you go. That's a big topic, lots of information. If you have any questions, please reach out. If you're considering selling within my marketplace of Surrey, BC, or anywhere in the Fraser Valley, also reach out. We'd actually love to show you how we can make that happen for you. Thanks again for watching. We always appreciate the views. Please make sure to hit that like button on your way out, drop some comments below, and we'll see you in a couple of days.